Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Clark, and I would like to welcome you to the 2016 Legislative Forum. I am pleased to be a moderator for this great event. Iowa Western has worked hard to increase the number of students who actively participate in elections through voting and voicing their beliefs for a better tomorrow. Iowa Western has a rich history of political involvement, and we are an important part of the electorate in Iowa. I'd like to take this moment to thank all of you for your commitment to civic engagement and Iowa Western. I would also like to thank each of the legislators and participants for all of their hard work and support of community colleges. We appreciate your time today. Lastly, I would like to recognize Iowa Western's Media Studies program for recording today's event and broadcasting it live on CBTA Channel 17. Because of their support, we are streaming this event live at each of our Iowa Western centers. The forum will end at about 10 a.m., which will allow you to make it to your next class. Now let's go over the rules. Each participant will have about 3 minutes for each question. Don't worry, I have a stopwatch. If a participant goes over 3 minutes, I will say time and move on to the next speaker. Let's start today's forum. First off, everyone, please introduce yourself and talk about what you will do for the community college students if you are elected or re-elected in November.
Thank you. My name's Greg Forrestal. I live at Macedonia, Iowa. I have House District 22, which is, basically starts at the Mall of the Bluffs and heads on east. And then I have most of the rest of Potawatomi County. So as for what my feelings about Iowa Western, first of all, you should know I was at one time on the board of Iowa Western. Went on to be on the State Community College Council. But we have, speaking as a House Republican, we have a great affection for the community colleges because we realize they're very important for economic development in the state of Iowa and for keeping people at work. We, over the last 6 years that we've been in the majority in the House, we have increased the basic funding for community colleges by 24%. Additionally, we've developed a skilled workforce programs of over $20 million. That's in addition to the 24%. So we, and that's at a higher rate than we've increased any other funding for higher education. That includes the Regents institutions and the Iowa Tuition Grant. So, and we will continue to work hard to adequately fund the community colleges. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you to Iowa Western, to Dr. Kenny, and the student body government for having us here today. I'm State Representative Mary Ann Hanusa, and I represent House District 16 in the Iowa House of Representatives. That's roughly the eastern and southern portions of Council Bluffs inside the city limits, and I'm proud to say that it includes Iowa Western Community College, where we're sitting today. I've served in the House for 6 years, and I chair the House Committee on Economic Growth. I'm a fifth-generation Iowan. I was educated here in Council Bluffs in the public schools, and I have spent my career in public service and in education. Should I be reelected in November, I will continue to support Iowa's system of community colleges, which is an outstanding system, by the way, as I have done throughout my legislative career. And during the 6 years that I have been in the legislature, we have increased funding to the community colleges by $40 million. But maybe to tell you what I'm going to do in the future, I'll tell you a little bit about what I've done in the past and what we've done in the past. There's a shortage in this state and across the country of skilled workers, and those are the folks who take jobs such as welders and plumbers and electricians. And if you're interested in a career path, you might want to think about that because you'd be in very, very high demand. But because we want to meet that skilled worker shortage, because so many of our Iowa businesses are crying out for those kinds of workers, we have developed programs for skilled worker training that go through the community colleges. And we've dedicated a $66 million steady fund of that every year so that those training programs can be developed. I also worked on some legislation to update our career and technical education programs, again, integrating the 7 through 12 schools with the community colleges to make sure that students have hands-on experiences and exposure to careers that they might not now have, and really trying to refresh our preparation for students so that they're successful after high school. But finally, and what you may be interested in as well, I will continue to work for as much funding as possible for the community schools, the community colleges. We know what a valuable key they are to education in Iowa and really to our workforce, because the community colleges are situated and have a mission in such that they can really turn on a dime to provide the training and the education that we need as a state to continue to provide jobs and advance economic growth in Iowa. Even though we're facing another tight budget year, we will continue, and I will pledge to continue to try to find as much funding for the community colleges as possible. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here today. Thanks, Dr. Kinney, and the students for showing up and listening to us. My name is Steve Gorman. I'm the Democratic candidate for the Iowa House District 16. I'm running against Mary Ann Hanusa here. A little about myself. I was born and raised in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I'm a fourth-generation Iowan. I was born to a large family in Council Bluffs. I went to both public and private schools. I graduated from St. Albert's High School, where I met my wife, Christine Sillick Gorman, who is a longtime teacher in the community schools here in Council Bluffs. Education is very important to me. I'm going to tell you this right now. I've been around education my whole entire life, with my wife being a teacher. The community colleges is where I benefited from. Being a Council Bluffs firefighter for 25 years, I get my college credit hours through Iowa Western. I'm also a journeyman electrician. Leaving high school, I went into the building trades, where I went to Iowa Western and got my electrical license and my technical training through Iowa Western. Iowa Western is very important to economic development in Council Bluffs and throughout the state of Iowa. We need to keep funding solid to our community colleges to bridge ourselves into the next generation of jobs in the state of Iowa. We have a lot of mid-level, what they call mid-skilled jobs in Iowa that aren't a four-year position, but they are an associate degree position, exactly what you students are looking to educate yourself in. And so it's very important that we keep affordable your tuition and keep our colleges funded fully so that you can meet the needs of the Iowa workforce in the future. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Kinney and the staff and the students for having us here today. Hello, I'm Charlie McConkey. I'm the state representative. I'm the Democratic state representative of District 15. That area encompasses the west end of Council Bluffs and all of Carter Lake. You know, I'm currently sitting on the committees in the House, Human Resources, Economic Development, Labor, Ways and Means, and I'm on a joint subcommittee with the Senate, Education Appropriations. So, you know, I graduated from Iowa Western in the late 70s. That might seem a lifetime ago, and looking out here, it was a lifetime ago for most of you. So, but you know, I know how important it is. I had the opportunity, the apprenticeship program, and attend Iowa Western, a two-year program, attend Iowa Western. I worked full-time at graveyard shift and attended the school during the day. And I benefited quite well. I did quite well for myself. The number of the skilled jobs, where they're available today, and we need to fill. We got a shortage of skilled workers here in Iowa. And you know, my wife also attended here. She earned her associate degree. All my children attended here. So I know how important this school is to Council Bluffs in southwest Iowa. You know, the question about we want, you know, what will I do for the community colleges if reelected? Well, first of all, we need to stop underfunding community colleges. As you all know, by the hike in tuition in the last 2 years, that was due to underfunding. I'm in constant contact with Dr. Kenny, and I ask him what the effect of the funding is, and it's always reduced, drop courses and raised tuition for the last 2 years. Now, the legislature we have a self-imposed law where we're supposed to fund education within the first 20 days of each session. Well, we've been breaking that law for several years. And the purpose of that law was to make sure we fund education adequately, and then craft the remaining part of the budget for the other requirements we have to have. So again, I want to thank you all here for having us here today.
Hi, I'm Bill Riley. I'm Charlie's opponent in District 15, West End of Council Bluffs and Carter Lake. I'd like to thank again everyone for coming here today. This is wonderful. I wish we had crowds like this at all our forums. Myself, I'm a lifelong Council Bluffs resident. I'm a graduate of TJ. I'm a graduate of Iowa Western, class of 14. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm the father of an Eagle Scout. I'm married with 4 children, and my wife currently sits on the Council Bluffs School Board. And most importantly, I'm your plumber. I am the plumber on campus, so when we talk trades and industries, I'm there. I know what we've done. Community colleges fill a need in our educational system that we will continue to support. There's more kids in Iowa go to community colleges than go to private universities and the 3 Regent universities combined. So it is important on our radar. It's our 50th anniversary this year, and almost all the community colleges in Iowa started at the same time. This key that the community colleges in to our state system is so important. Can you imagine, what were we doing before community colleges? Nobody went to Iowa State to learn how to be a plumber. The nursing was always a small nursing school and stuff. The community colleges in Iowa are providing a major, important factor of our workforce. So they will be big on our radar to make sure that we properly fund and encourage our community colleges. And I laugh at this. I hear a lot of people talk about trades, and they talk welders and carpenters and, of course, plumbers. I'd like to give a little bit of career advice to some of you guys. For the last 10 years, I've been your plumber on the campus, and I work with our engineers. And in the industry, nationwide, do you remember the janitor at your schools? The guy who was in the back with the big boilers and stuff? And you remember his age? The stationary engineers are all retiring, and we do not have people trained to replace them. That is a major career field that will need to be filled with proper trained people soon. I mean, they'll be retiring within the next 10 years. And if any of you guys are looking for that, it is one of the highest paid trades, and it is a very important trade. So if you need any more information, you can stop and see me at the Boiler House. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. This is the second one of these I've attended. Pretty new to the legislature. My name is David Seek. I'm in Iowa House District 23. Basically, I go to the Pottawatomie County line just south of here and clear down to the Missouri border and then over to Red Oak. I'm a farmer by trade. I was born in Council Bluffs. I also, with Charlie, attended Iowa Western in the 70s. So at that time, this campus was just a smidgen of what it is today. It's amazing what has happened since I went here. I took a lot of classes and got my real estate license, which I still use today because of Iowa Western. As far as the legislative sessions and funding, a lot of people up here have talked about how the Republicans have increased funding over the last 6 years for education at a higher level than any other higher ed, and also the skilled job workforce programs that have been put into place and funded. In my district, they're hugely important. I have a lot of smaller towns, rural areas, and those skilled jobs come in very, very handy. And this system plays a huge role in what happens in my district. It is a big, big, big important thing in my district. So I will continue to support Iowa Western and all the community colleges to my best of my ability and find all the funding we can at the legislature, because I truly believe that without that, we would be in a lot worse shape than we are today, with the ag economy down, with this burdensome regulations that are hitting us headlong from the federal level. So I will continue to work toward finding all the funding we can. And sometimes that's tough because we get pulled and yanked. And like I said, I'm a farmer by trade. We get pulled and yanked a lot of different directions up there, and there's a lot of people wanting money. So it's hard to always make it even funding, and that hurts us sometimes. I think not only the community colleges, but everybody. And so I will continue to work toward that. And I look forward to this next legislative session if I win, and I do have an opponent, and I appreciate being here today.
Hi, I'm Jan Kriesman, and thank you, Mike. This is my first large forum, and I'm running against the current holder of the House District 17. House District 17 includes Harrison County, Monona County, Ida, and part of Woodbury County. So I have two community colleges in my area. I believe, to the core of my belief system, and the reason why I'm running is for education. I feel strongly that, and I know people don't like statistics, but when we put more money into education, it comes back threefold to the community. Your future is our future, and it's essential that we educate, we provide the training that you need, and so that you can become the productive citizens to become the tax base and the future of this state. The area that I cover is rural, and community college is a huge piece of that rural area. My connections specific to Iowa Western is I used to teach mandatory training for child abuse. I worked as for the state for several years as a protective service investigator. And then I also have worked for the VA with homeless. I currently work with hospice, the other continuum. Earlier on, I worked with the younger continuum, obviously with foster care and families. So I find it very important that we strengthen the middle class, that we get the economy to that point, and the way that the avenue to get there is by funding community colleges so that we can get the middle class stronger. I appreciate greatly you guys having this forum today and the opportunity to speak to all of you. I hope that if you're in my district, and even if you're not in my district, that you vote. Vote is essential to your future. So, and to mine. So I appreciate your support and continue on.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. Let me talk about a few global things and then a few specific things. Globally, most of the studies indicate that the jobs in our society that we're going to need to fill over the next 10 years, that 2/3 of those jobs need more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree. Translation, we need community colleges to be places that train workers in the state of Iowa. So it is key to our economic future, if we want to grow our economy, grow incomes in the state of Iowa, that we help each and every one of you get the best you can get at this institution and maybe go on to other institutions to earn a great living, to get a ticket to a better life. That's why I'm committed to community colleges. and I've worked hard over the last several years, and again, I think training is key. There's lots of elements to community colleges, whether it's the high school student that's getting dual college credit and high school credit at the same time. My daughter, many years ago, graduated from Council Bluffs Schools with 57 credit hours and ended up going on to college and getting a degree in civil engineering. And by the way, we figured anything that would make her more civil would be good. She hates that joke. But let me tell you some numbers. You ask what we're going to do if we're reelected. Well, if you want to know what I'm going to do if I'm reelected, I'm going to pursue kind of the same course I've pursued for a lot of years. And don't ask me. Ask community colleges across the state. Ask Dan Kenny. Ask anybody you want to ask. I'm one of the strongest advocates in the state legislature for community colleges. So let me give you some numbers. Back in 2014, we did an effort to expand training programs in the state of Iowa. The original workforce training economic development budget had about $8 million that was the House Republican proposal. The Senate Democrats came up with a proposal to take gaming revenues, the last $60 million of gaming revenues, and move those to a training program. So we had $15 million for workforce training. We added $5.5 million for adult basic education. We added $5 million for PACE programs, community college, GAP tuition assistance for $2 million, $3 million for workforce-based learning programs, and ACE infrastructure for about $10 million. And we negotiated back and forth, but the total was $40,900,000 in the Senate Democrats' budget and $8 million in the House Republican budget. And in the end, after much negotiation and back and forth, we were able to get $35 million new dollars for community colleges to expand training programs in this state. Then if you look at the overall just state budget for community colleges, in 2012, the House Republicans had $144 million. The Senate Democrats had $169 million. We compromised at $163 million. In 2013, we went from that 163. The House had it frozen at that level. We went to 188, and in the end, we got 177. In 2014, as I said, we did that training program, which was significant, and we were still also able to get about $7 million more for community college general operating budgets. In 2015, we ended up, the House came in with about $7 million more, and in the end, that was a tough year. We agreed to that $7 million more. And in fiscal 2016, we went from $201 million on the House side. We were at $209 million. In the end, we accepted the House's lower number. Senate Democrats are committed to growing community college budgets. We think it's important that you all get that ticket to a better life, and that's what the economy needs. So I'm here to tell you I will do the same kind of stuff. My goal is to put in place a path where we get to the same level of support for community college students as we do for students in private colleges. And I'll cover a little bit of that in the next question when that comes up.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me here today to participate in this. My name is Dan Dawson. I'm running for State Senate District 8 in Council Bluffs and Carr Lake area. A little bit about me. I'm a third-generation person from Council Bluffs. I went to Abraham Lincoln High School, like probably many of you. Earned a few college credits my last senior year in college. Came out to Iowa Western my first year here. Then I decided I wanted to go see the world a little bit, so I joined the Army. Went off and did 4 tours overseas. But I always came back home, and Council Bluffs is my home. So my current occupation right now, I'm a police officer with the state of Iowa, and worked for Council Bluffs PD for a few years before that. The first question is, what will I do for students? And my answer is jobs. I mean, that's the reason why we're all here, right? You begin your life where you want to go achieve a degree or a certification, and you want to eventually, maybe not right now, everyone's probably happy and single, but eventually have a family, earn for your family and make your way in life. So my commitment to you is to try to make sure that we have as many good, high-paying jobs around this area that we can achieve. So that way, like me, your families and you can stay here in this area. Also with that, too, my commitment is try to make sure Iowa Western gets as many resources as possible. The decision you made to come here is a smart decision. I mean, it's a decision I made, too. It's how we cope with college debt. Some people that I know, just growing up through the military-wise, they usually go to a four-year degree. They'll be saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars of, well, maybe not that much, but tens of thousands of dollars of debt, and have to join the military for a student loan repayment. That's just my personal experience with what I've seen. But you come here to try to manage that. You're getting just as high quality of education, developing critical thinking skills to move forward and manage that debt and still achieve what you want to in life. But my responsibility and my job, if elected, is to make sure that Iowa Western has the resources that it needs and do as much as we can to provide for this school so that your decision, a smart one, is respected and championed. Thank you.
Well, I'm Tom Shipley. I'm Senate District 11. I'm not running for anything this year because I'm in the middle of my first term. I'm the last guy on the table, so I don't have a chance. I guess the easy thing for me to say, yeah, whatever they said. My district covers from Union County to Adams to Cass and all the way up to the edge just right east of where we sit now. Very rural area, and I deal with, Iowa Western has centers in my district in Atlantic. Is there another one? Clarinda. Well, Clarinda wouldn't be in my district, but that's okay. But I should remember Clarinda because I'm a graduate of Iowa Western from the Clarinda campus a long time ago to many of you. Then I went to Iowa State University and got my bachelor's degree there, which I would not have been able to do had I not gone to Iowa Western Community College. And that's the case with there was a lot of us from my area that did that, and so I have a strong love for what community colleges can do and are doing and will do in the future. I look across the diversity of what people can do when they leave community colleges is vast. Whether you get done with training there to go on to an apprenticeship or whatever, in a trade, or go on to a four-year program, whatever. People that were in my class at Iowa Western, sometimes they never pursued any further and yet went on to a career. One of my classmates from high school did that, and we went together down there, and she ended up working for 40 years for the Iowa DNR in a lot of capacities. We had people that I graduated with that went on to medical school. So it's pretty vast, and so I think it's really important that we maintain a community college system as we look at just the cost. And I think, of course, like I said, everybody else has pretty well said it, and I, being a supporter of it, I sit on no fund appropriations or education committees. However, last year I was always talking to those people, wondering where they were at with community college funding. And so I may not have had much influence on it, but on the other hand, they knew that I was going to be watching anyway, and for whatever purpose that serves, that's what I was going to be doing. So I think we know that what we do, and it's very difficult to find enough dollars for what everybody needs to be done, because I can't there's a couple programs I really kind of wonder whether we even, the state ought to even be involved in, but for the most part, there are needs all over, and with resources being limited. But I think we're very fortunate to be in the state of Iowa, where I think we do a pretty decent job of trying to take care of things. Does everybody get everything they want? No, but nor should they. Because we have to live in a democracy or republic, if you will, where we all have to work together to finally reach the common goal of a better society. And I think we do a lot of that with our community colleges. So that I think is I'm a big supporter and fan, and a lot of interest in community colleges, and will do what I can to, as I learn this process. Like I say, I'm only into my second year. I don't have the vast experience that some of my colleagues down the table have got. But on the other hand, sometimes you have to pick and choose what you're going to be looking at, even if it isn't a committee you're on, and community colleges is one of those for me. Thank you.
Thank you all. For our next and final question, we're going to start off with you, Mr. Shipley, so you'll have a better chance. According to the Legislative Service Agency, last session of the legislative stats, funding per private college student was increased by $686 and only $30 per community college student. What was the reasoning for that?
Well, like I say, it's kind of a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So when I was asked that question, I did ask up the ladder for a little bit of help, and the answer I got back, it's somewhat of an answer, but I think sometimes we look at the numbers of students that are involved in it on the amount of dollars divided by the number of students. I think it's, as I understand it, part of that private college money goes, I think it works somewhat in how many of them go after that money. So consequently, the fewer numbers of people that go after it. I don't particularly like that deal. Private colleges have a place, I get it, but that's a choice that you make. And you know that private colleges are going to be a more expensive proposition, and some of you will probably be going there after you get done here. I get that, but that's something, like I say, I'm not blowing it off. I don't know that much about it, but I think it's something I really want to focus in on trying to resolve. If there's the disparity, that many of these people have probably got a better answer, so I'm going to let them have right at it.
Well, I'm not sure what much of an answer I have. I'm a non-incumbent, running for the first time, so I won't be able to give you the inside nuances to that. But I can tell you, if those numbers are correct, it's not right. I mean, our four-year institutions in the state of Iowa should be looking at the community colleges as example for resource management and efficiency. I mean, this institution right here, it's not just for students who graduate high school and come here for 2 years. It's for people of all ages in the community. People want to come back and try to get additional education. Just an anecdotal note, my 78-year-old grandpa in the late 90s wanted to take classes here and came back for one semester to learn about something called a computer because he didn't want to fumble around with it at home. So these are not just educational institutions and critical thinking institutions, they're also economic institutions. So I think when the legislature approaches community college funding, they have to look at it from that angle because there's a lot more these institutions have a lot more reach within the community than maybe some of other four-year institutions out there. On top of that, again, if we're going to talk about student debt and issues like that, people are trying to tackle real-world issues. I mean, these are ways that you're able to better financially navigate that monster that you're going to approach down the road, which is why we should throw more resources into these Great Walls. Thank you.
As is often true in the world of politics, the answer to that question is complicated. Okay, the numbers as they relate to private colleges, yet you need to look at the footnotes when you take a look at those numbers. They do not go to all private college students. Tuition grants go to a subset of those students. I think it's less than a third of those students. So the per pupil funding divided over a small group of students, not the total student body, doesn't really reflect the actual new dollars on a per pupil basis, because we're spreading it, instead of spreading it over all students, we're only spreading it over the ones that get tuition grants. And one of the reasons I gave you those kind of 5 years of figures relative to the budget is to understand that Nothing is done in a vacuum inside the legislature. So looking at trends over 5 years is a lot better than looking at any 1 year, which at any given point in time there might be an outlier. And obviously this last year, the private college funding was an outlier. Community colleges have gone in the last 5 years from $144 million to $201 million. That's a pretty significant increase. It's more significant than any of the other education institutions, K through 12, Regents institutions, private colleges. It is a greater increase by far than any of those other institutions. So do I like that? No, I don't. And one of the things you learn when you're in the legislature is politics is the art of the possible. So we don't always get a deal with the people we want to deal with. So we have to negotiate a budget with the House. We go back and forth on that. We try and do our best. I think we've shown a pretty solid commitment to community colleges in the state of Iowa, and we will certainly work to rectify that. Now, let me also say, when you look at those numbers, when the economy is bad, more people come to community colleges to upgrade their skills. So when the economy's bad, more people come there, and if there's a greater number of people here, even if we're providing new dollars on a per-student basis, that's not necessarily a great increase. So I'm not sure what we are this year. I think we've been as low as a little bit under $1,800 per pupil in the last few years, and I think we've been maybe at a high of $2,100 or $2,200. Let me repeat, my goal for the long term, and we won't get it next year or the year after, but my goal for the long term is to have a policy that leads us to getting to approximately $3,300 per pupil in terms of state support for community colleges, so we can keep tuitions low and we can keep access to a ticket to a better life high.
I appreciate that description of what took place last year, Mike, since I wasn't there either. But I am committed to doing everything I can, if elected, to increase the amount of dollars that goes to education and into community colleges. There is no way that community colleges can compete for good faculty staff without paying them money. There is no way that they can continue to compete if their students can't afford to attend. And I firmly believe that we need to do better by everyone that's sitting here and everyone who's out there that's trying to come to a community college and is planning on coming to community colleges in the future. Numerous people that I've talked to when I'm knocking on doors have expressed concerns about community colleges to me and about how hard it is for them to afford to send their children to them. And they never thought that they would see that they said, you know, we're not asking for a 4-year, we understand sending somebody to a 4-year university is going to cost and is going to put somebody in debt. We shouldn't have that same issue with trying to get our kid a 2-year education beyond high school. And the fact that when some of the things when I did research on this question, I was looking at that basically the increases that have been referred to that are made have placed us just about where the 2008 request was, and this is 2016. So we really do need to do better. I'm going to break one of the things I usually don't talk about the national campaigns, but I firmly believe that federal dollars have got to start helping the states in providing education, and so I'm firmly supportive that education become a priority that students can get, if it's not free, at least an affordable education in these facilities, and that maybe federal dollars can help the states in accomplishing this. So that's if I'm elected, that's what I'm going to part of the thing I'm going to fight for. And as a social worker, I've had to make a purse out of a sow's ear several times in rural areas because there's no services out there. So I do think innovatively and creatively in terms of how to come up with those things. So hopefully, if you want to know more about my campaign, it's creasmanforhouse.org, and I appreciate your time.
Again, thank you for the question. As Mike said, it's complicated, and if I look at this question, I think it begs a better understanding of a couple things for me. And one of those, if you look at it, and the way it's posed to us, it's basically by students and dollars, and that was pretty, since we didn't have an increase last year, that was pretty much stayed the same. So you can compare the dollars between the 2 years, take the amount of students from the private colleges and the community colleges. If you look at that, there's an 18% decrease in the students that were funded in private college and only a 2% decrease in the students that were funded in community colleges on a per dollar. And yet, both of you got increases, but the $600 increase was because of the 18% decrease in the applications for those monies. Okay, so if you think that back, here's how I reason this. And since I'm a legislator, I think, how can I best help the people in my district? So if I look at it, to me, the community colleges are doing a much better job of reaching the people in my district than the private colleges. And they're doing a better job, and they're being able to adapt faster. And I think a lot of people have talked about that today, to the changes in our job market. Now, I've seen a lot lately. We're moving a lot and a lot more to getting college credits in high school. And a lot of those college credits are done at community colleges, and that is fabulous. And what that does is help everybody in this room decide a better career path and a career path that's good for them. So if we move down that ladder, that career path helps you when you get to college have an idea of what's going on. It also takes a lot of the burden, because a lot of times in high school they pushed you to a four-year institution, and as a lot of people said today, the good paying jobs are not in four-year institutions right now, they're in community colleges. So as I look for my people back home, between how we're transitioning people out of high school into community colleges, of how we're looking at the job creators in my district, and I've always been a firm believer that it's better to grow the businesses in my district than to try to start and give some guy a $600 million TIF to come there, and as soon as the 15 years are gone, they're gone, because that doesn't always work. So let's grow the businesses are there by having the jobs that are available. So my job creators in my district have access to people that have gone to school here with the technology of the newest jobs that are going to be needed for now and in the future. That's a huge benefit to my districts to help grow the businesses. And we take that one step further, and Iowa Western does a Lunch to Learn series. That Lunch to Learn series takes me, and I mean, I'm just a farm boy from Iowa. That takes me, and if I come to one of those classes, I can learn stuff like on the internet and how to, do all this fancy stuff now, and to, maybe start a web page and, promote my farm or my pumpkin patch or something I'm doing. And that's a huge benefit also. And then let's take it one step further. The continuing education classes help those that aren't really going to college but find another hobby, which also stimulates the economy, or find another job path down the road. So, I mean, to me, if I'm going to throw my money somewhere in the legislature, as far as I'm concerned, community colleges are a huge benefit to my district, and that's kind of why I said what I said in the first question, and this kind of hopefully is the answer to why I said that. So I will continue to support them and try to help find as much money as we can. As everybody said, it's going to be a tight budget year. Ag economy down, certain sectors, livestock's down. The regulations coming down are hurting some businesses, and we have a slow growth. But to what dollars we can find, I will put as much as I can help. And I kind of agree with Senator Shipley over there. I'm pretty much a low totem pole on the totem pole, but I will sure put my 2 cents in and try to continue to support community colleges in Iowa as best we can.
Thank you. The others on the stage here have answered the why. I would like to give you the instead. Community colleges, according to the Legislative Service Agency, did receive an increase last year. They received it in property taxes. Well, again, our district is the west end of Council Bluffs and Carter Lake. And when I say the west end of Council Bluffs, we're not down there by the movie theater. or anything else, we stop at the big railroad tracks. And I've watched businesses leave West Broadway. I've watched, used to be a nice big glass repair shop over in Carter Lake, and there's a lot of empty lots. If we can increase the businesses, which will give you guys an option for jobs when you get out of here. If we can do that, that's going to increase the property taxes of money coming in to Iowa Western. And the great part about that is it's coming into Iowa Western. We don't have to share with Iowa Central or Kirkwood or any of the other schools. I am more about giving you guys options. You have options in your education here. You could have went somewhere else, but you came here for what we offer. From here, you have options of where you want to work. And I would like to make sure that you have that possibility to work in Council Bluffs. I want you to start businesses in Council Bluffs. I want you to grow this town and be part of it. Some of you may want the option of going on to higher education, and that's why we do fund some of those private tuition grants, is so that you have that option to pick whether you want to go to Buena Vista or Bellevue, which are some of our partner schools here. It's about the legislature should make sure that we do not restrict what you can do, but instead give you options and give you the choice for you to decide what's best for you. Thank you.
Well, we beat this question to death, haven't we? But it is a complicated, it is more complicated than it need to be. Reason for the difference, if you look at it, there should be no reason because it was status quo funding from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 16. Community colleges received $201.8 million, and private colleges received $50.4 million. The only way to explain it was the difference in enrollment. The enrollment dropped slightly at community colleges, and it was a higher percentage at the private colleges. That explains the difference, because it was stagnant funding, and that's the reason why the higher tuition costs for this community college and across the state in the last 2 years. Well, we need to do a better job of funding our schools. We need to start out with our preschools to make sure our kids are ready to learn, make sure they receive a quality education, they're ready to learn when they do go to school. We need to, several things we need to do. Well, what I have done as a representative from District 15, last year on the floor, after talking to Dr. Kinney and understanding what the underfunding of this community college is, what it would do in dropping, you had to drop courses and raise tuition. I ran an amendment on the floor for an extra $3 million for community colleges. And as usual, by not funding our own rules, our own laws, breaking our laws, every year at the end, all the legislators look at each other, well, that's the best we could do because that's the money we have left. But we fund it first properly, and then maybe somebody else, some other program we can look at, but maybe we make cuts and changes in that. And we can't afford to do that to our education. We've got to make our education a priority again, because every dollar we spend up front, we receive in the skilled, fill in the skilled workforce. In 2018, we estimate 56% of the available jobs here in Iowa will require more than a high school diploma and less than a 4-year degree. And these are all good paid jobs. And if we don't invest in our community colleges to make sure we have the skilled workers to fill those jobs, those companies are going to have to go away. And it would be a huge loss. So that's why we need to continue to do a better job making the community college affordable and accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. What I take away on this question, what I really see is a reduction of student access to higher education. The funding was flattened, like they were saying, or it didn't change, but it went up per student, meaning that less people are taking advantage of those programs. One of the things that's very important to me is affordability for students in their education. It is the number one thing that drives our economy is education. I believe in long-term legislation, tax cuts and tax giveaways and short funding education and saving money here on the front end is not good legislation on the back end. We need long-term funding and education and investment, and that is into you and into our education system. I've been on the doorsteps throughout the community talking about access to college and the cost of college and how it's straddling our youth with debt, and it is. But one of the things I think we need to look at in Iowa is taking that next step. Our economy is going to need higher education people. Our jobs are going to require it. And so maybe we need to look at a K through 14 system where every kid in Iowa leaves school with an associate's degree, or look at a trade, with a business background and an associate's degree. Maybe those are some things we need to look at and start investing in Iowa. And so that what that would do is would give you a career path, a higher wage when you went on to a higher education to work as you go. Plus, it would reduce down the price of your college by a third if we would do this in the state of Iowa. It'd be a win-win for Iowa. Thank you.
Well, I don't want your eyes to glaze over, but you did ask the question, and I want to show you the respect to answer it. But private colleges aren't funded at a higher level than the community colleges, but as has been said before, there are a smaller number of students using that pool of money, and therefore the per student number is going to be different. But I think the broader question here is, why should we continue to fund and support community colleges higher than currently and higher than those numbers suggest? Number one, because of the importance of community colleges to our Iowa residents and to our Iowa economy. And number two, because we want to reduce the amount of debt that Iowa students carry as they seek higher education after high school. Community colleges offer quality education at an affordable price. I know sometimes you may not think that, but they because of the burden that you're carrying, but it is an affordable price. The opportunity to complete a 4-year degree with 2 years spent at a community college reduces student loan debt significantly, and it helps to ensure that all of you are going to be able to graduate and go out and pursue the careers that you want. Approximately 60% of all Iowa jobs require more than a high school diploma, but not more than a two-year degree or a certificate. Our community colleges provide that training, as we've talked about, the funding that we provided to do that and the programs that we've set up here at Iowa Western and at our community colleges across the state, provide that training for those positions. And I know we've talked about these middle school jobs, but as I said to you, I serve as the chair of the Economic Growth Committee, and I talked to a business owner who said if I could hire 150 welders today, I would do it. I know of welders who come out with a certificate of welding and they start at $70,000 and $80,000. Now that's not all of them, but there are those cases. These are good jobs. Are the middle school skills jobs for everybody? No. But if you have that aptitude, take a look at it, because there is a critical need in this state and across our nation to fill these jobs, and that is exactly where the community colleges are. They are filling the needs that our businesses are crying for. And I can't think of a more important mission for an institution of education in Iowa to be doing. And you have chosen well. You have chosen well by going to Iowa Western. We have an outstanding system of community colleges. We have 15 community colleges in Iowa. Iowa Western is a star among them. I say it all the time. It's true. Other legislators who have not even been to the campus of Iowa Western know it because they know it by reputation. And I can't think of an issue that there is more bipartisan support in the legislature on than support for community colleges. I want to congratulate Iowa Western and all of our community colleges as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of this community college system in Iowa. Each year, these incredible institutions get better and better and offer more and more programs that directly meet the needs of Iowa businesses and of students who are trying to pursue their dreams. So thank you so much. Continue to study hard. Thank you for being here. Stay in touch with us. Come up and talk to us afterwards if you want to. And thanks so much for your good attention and for really being great Iowa students and helping to build Iowa's workforce economy. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, first of all, going back to the question, it really ignores the way we actually do budgeting, because we don't budget on a per-student basis. Certainly no one came forward and said, let's give private school students 20 times as much as we give community college students. It just didn't work that way. This was just the way the numbers came out. But on another topic, now in another year or so, you'll be transitioning out of being a student into your working life. And one of the things you'll find out is you'll become a taxpayer. Welcome. And you know, government has some responsibilities, and one of the biggest ones we're grappling with right now is Medicaid. And as Marianne mentioned, this is the 50th year of community colleges. The year we started community colleges, there was no Medicaid. And now we're spending billions of dollars on that. And when you add in the Skilled Worker and Job Creation Fund, about a $250 million is going to community colleges. So it becomes a problem. Now, for the last 6 years, we've had a divided legislature where the Senate's controlled by Democrats, the House is controlled by Republicans. That means that every budget we've had for 6 years is bipartisan. Yes, as much as Senator Groundstal might complain about Republicans, he voted for every one of those budgets. Now, sometimes it takes us 3 or 4 months to convince the Senate that we really don't have as much money as they fantasize we do. But eventually we get down to the fact that Iowa Constitution requires us to have a balanced budget. Sometimes over the years we've cheated on that, but it always comes home to roost. So as we look forward, I want Iowa government to do what it has to do, what it has a responsibility for it, but I think that you want us to be a bit lean when it comes to creating new programs that cost money on an ongoing basis, because you are the taxpayers that will be funding it. I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much.
Please give a round of applause for each of our participants. On behalf of the student of Iowa Western, we thank you for your continued support of Iowa's community colleges. If you'd like to watch this event again, tune into CBTV Channel 17 in the upcoming weeks to view the replay. Thank you for attending today's event.